and he starts bringing me out boxes. And I take the boxes back to my office. They're filled with letters. People just voluntarily wrote in. He never asked them to. And they were all the same. It's like, "Dear Mr. Strauss, I had heart disease. I was sick in bed. I was dying. I couldn't work. I took your heart drops. I got well. Like, thank you, thank you, thank you." I mean, they were all the same. Now, I cannot enter those as evidence in court. That's called hearsay evidence. But I can call the authors of the letters to the stand to have them swear to tell the truth and tell the truth. And so I started calling these people and interviewing them and trying to decide, well, who do I want to call as witnesses? I can't call thousands of people, so I narrowed it down to 5. Middle-class professionals. They had all had serious heart disease. They had all had at least one open-heart bypass surgery. A couple of them had had more than one. They had all continued to have heart disease because the cause of their arteries plugging wasn't being addressed. They all needed another open-heart bypass surgery to survive. And here's where they differed, is some of them weren't willing to do it again. They'd had so many complications, they'd just rather die. And the others, the doctors weren't willing to put them through it again because they weren't likely candidates to survive, so why bother? So for all of them, the mainstream medical system was a dead end. It was a death sentence. They were going to die. They turned to the natural health community. They stumble across these Strauss heart drops. They start taking them. They get well. They all go back to work. None of them had been able to work. They were so sick, they were bedridden. And in preparing for this, in reading these letters and interviewing these people to bring them to witnesses to court to tell the truth, I had to do a complete mindset change. Because before, when I was acting for Health Canada, my belief was leaving the Strauss heart drops on the market was dangerous. The government hadn't approved them. And this trial was about 11 years ago. At that time, I had become painfully aware that the real danger was removing the Strauss heart drops from the market. In fact, at that time, I could have given you the names, addresses, and phone numbers of thousands of people whose lives would have been severely impacted if that one product was taken off the market. Many of them would have died, and many would have become bedridden. We're talking serious life and death over a single product. Let me give you an example of another product, because I'm trying to get into your consciousness that there is a danger to removing natural health products from the market. Because the government pretends the danger is leaving unapproved ones on the market. Well, you have to understand there's a danger to removing them from the market. We need a balanced risk analysis here. I want to talk about True Hope Empower Plus, and I expect that many in this room have heard about Empower Plus because it's gotten a lot of mainstream media attention. It is a vitamin and mineral supplement to treat bipolar disorder. It's the best treatment in the world. It kicks butt on any single pharmaceutical. Every study shows 8 out of 10 people with bipolar get well. And it's not just me. Health Canada tried to take Empower Plus off the market in 2003, including charging True Hope, and I was hired to defend them. And I subpoenaed the psychiatrist who I consider to be the leading world expert in treating bipolar disorder. I had to subpoena him to get him on the stand. Dr. Charles Popper, he's on the Faculty of Medicine at Harvard Medical School in Boston. He was the only psychiatrist for about 20 years that Harvard Medical School allowed to have a clinical practice at any of their hospitals. And he got the bipolar patients that other psychiatrists couldn't handle. So he got the worst of the worst. And it would take me about half an hour to explain how this guy even allowed a patient to try a vitamin mineral supplement, because he was Mr. Pharmaceutical. In fact, he was the founding editor of the Journal of Child and Adolescent Psychopharmacology, which is the study of the use of chemical drugs to treat mental illness in children and adolescents. So you have to appreciate this guy supported chemical pharmaceutical drugs to treat things like bipolar disorder. Well, one of his patients ended up on Empower Plus, and he had never seen such a rapid and complete recovery in his history. It had never happened. So he allowed another patient to try it who just was not responding to the chemical drugs, and she got well. And then he let another and another and another. And before he knew it, he explained in court under oath that Empower Plus destroyed his practice. Because when he was managing his patients with the chemical pharmaceutical drugs, he had to meet with each patient weekly to counsel them not to commit suicide. I mean, these are suicidal people, and he had to manage the side effects from the chemical cocktails. But the patients that were on EMpower Plus, instead of meeting weekly, he would meet with them every 3 to 6 months. He wasn't counseling them not to commit suicide because they weren't suicidal. There were no side effects by that point, and then he had nothing to do. So he ended up taking on way more patients. He said first time in his career where he actually had blank days, so he took on way more patients. Because he can manage way more patients when he has some of them on EMpower Plus. Now he still has half his patients on chemical pharmaceuticals. He allows his patients to decide. But I asked him under oath, on the stand, what would happen if EMpower Plus was taken from the market? And he, no hesitation, there would be suicides. You cannot take an effective treatment for bipolar off the market and not have suicides. He said there'd be suicides, there'd be hospitalizations, people who were functioning well and didn't function well on chemical pharmaceutical drugs would have to stop working, stop going to school, and he said he personally would have to give many of his patients away to other psychiatrists because he'd have to go back to the weekly meetings. So his point was, though, so you took EMpower Plus off the market, there would be deaths. Well, Health Canada tried to take EMpower Plus off the market. They seized a shipment at the border. They started turning shipments away. They started advertising, telling Canadians not to take EMpower Plus. And supply was restricted. Now, there was a gentleman named Ron Lajeunesse. He was the head of the Alberta branch of the Canadian Mental Health Association, a heavy hitter in the mental health field. He used to run all of the provinces of Alberta's mental health programs. He went public. He started holding press conferences blaming Health Canada for the suicides of Canadian Mental Health Association members who had run out of EMpower Plus. So, and I believe him. I've seen him testify. I've spoken to Mr. Lajeunesse. When he tells me he's gone to a funeral, a person who committed suicide, I believe him. So we have an example of another single natural health product taken from the market where we actually had deaths and suicides. So I'm trying to make it clear to you, just giving you, these are two products, Strauss Heart Drops, True Hope EMpower Plus, where taking them from the market would create a risk. Because the government tells us they're taking our natural health products away for our safety, and they are taking them away. Now, in the mid-1990s, the Canadian public noticed that Health Canada was taking natural health products off of the market, and there was a citizen rebellion. It was the largest rebellion in our history. And everyone agrees, Health Canada, the government, everyone agrees, the message from the people was, we want increased access to natural health products. Okay, so we rebelled, the people spoke and said we want increased access to natural health products. They didn't say we want the access we have now, we want increased access. So we as a population, we spoke, give us increased access. What does Health Canada do? They come out with natural health product regulations that the starting point is every natural health product on the market is illegal and dangerous. And only those that can overcome barriers to entry and get a license can remain on the market. Now, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out if the people say we want increased access, and the government response is to declare every single natural health product illegal and come out with regulations that say only those that can overcome barriers to remain on the market can stay, that's not going to increase our access. It's going to dramatically reduce our access, and it is dramatically reducing our access. Now, most of you haven't noticed, because as products are disappearing, there are still so many products on the market that the health food stores are just filling the empty spaces with products that are still available. But let me give you some statistics. So now to stay on the market, you have to apply for a license. There have been roughly 22,000 license applications processed. Half have failed. Okay, half have failed. So imagine you're in your health food store, your favorite health food store, and there's shelves all around you and they're filled. Well, imagine half of those gone. Now, it's actually worse than that because there are actually the majority of products that were on the market, the manufacturers are never going to apply for a license. Many manufacturers have already just stopped manufacturing, and others are leaving unlicensed products on the market because Health Canada hasn't said, okay, enough's enough, and we're not allowing this anymore. We're still in a transition. But you know, imagine another 25 or 30% gone. Once Health Canada says, no, you need to have a license now. We're not doing a transition period anymore. And we've also lost probably